Howdy, howdy do, Who fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And this is episode 255.
One day, I shall come back. Yes, I shall come back. Until then, there must be no regrets, no tears, no anxieties. Just go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine.
Our lives are different to anybody else's. That's the exciting thing. Nobody in the universe can do what we're doing.
I've reversed the polarity of the neutron flow, so the TARDIS should be free of the force field now.
You may be a doctor, but I'm the doctor. The definite article, you might say.
The trouble with time travel is, one never seems to find the time.
Change, my dear, and it seems on a moment too soon.
Unlimited rice pudding, etc., etc.
I am the Doctor!
For now, for this moment, I am the Doctor again.
The ground beneath our feet is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. And the entire planet is hurtling around the sun at 67,000 miles an hour, and I can feel it. We're falling through space, you and me.
People assume that time is a strict progression of cause to effect, but actually, from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
I could be a curator. I'd be great at curating. I'd be the great curator. I could retire and do that.
I'm the Doctor. I've lived for over 2,000 years, and not all of them were good. I've made many mistakes, and it's about time that I did something about that.
Bit of adrenaline, dash of outrage, and a hint of panic knitted my brain back together. I know exactly who I am. I'm the Doctor. Sorting out fair play throughout the universe.
Howdy do, Who fans. Hope you've all had a cracking week. That you've all managed to do something. Doctor Who.
Related, yes indeed.
Series 12 is rolling along nicely, bud. We're nearly at the end. Nearly done.
I know. I don't understand like the BBC's sort of publicity, you know, on Twitter and Facebook. They're like, yeah, we're nearly at the final, guys. There's just another 3 episodes left, but we're nearly at the final. It's almost as if they're saying, yeah, don't worry about these next couple of episodes because we're nearly at the final. It seems a really odd thing to be saying, but I know what they mean. I'm excited about the final, obviously, but yes, I just find that an odd thing to be tweeting. Like, yeah, don't worry, guys. We've got 2 episodes left and then the final. Yeah. But it's mad, isn't it, to think we're almost at the end of Series 12 already.
It is, mate. Yeah.
And then a 3-year wait till season... No, I'm joking, but who knows when season 13 will be? We just don't know.
Well, with any luck, it will be January 2021.
Yeah, I'm thinking special at Christmas or New Year, whichever. Be nice if they did a Christmas for a change, wouldn't it? So we've had 2 New Year's ones, let's have a Christmas. Yes. And then into the new series, that'd be good.
That would be good, yeah. So, welcome aboard, everybody, to 255. New listeners, welcome aboard. It's good to have you. Long-time listeners, welcome back. Before we kick off with today's show, remember to subscribe to us on whatever podcast app you listen to podcasts on. Just do a search for the Big Blue Box podcast. You'll find us on there. That way you won't miss a show, and it lands every single Friday. And we're on the socials too, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Just do a search for the Big Blue Box podcast again. You'll find us on there. And we chat Doctor Who throughout the week. So, yeah, it's all fun and games over there. Interestingly, somebody didn't find us on Twitter the other day.
Didn't find us?
Somebody said, what's going on? It's 2020 and you don't have a Twitter account.
What?
What's going on? I was like, hold on. This must be some kind of trickery.
This must be a bot, a spam bot.
Yeah. But no, fair play, because there are a couple of other Twitter accounts that are they've got the blue box in the name and stuff like that. But just to confirm, we couldn't fit the Big Blue Box podcast in, like, Twitter doesn't allow you to use that many characters in the name. So the name on Twitter is Big Blue Box PCast. It doesn't have the OD, the pod bit, or the odd bit, the ood bit. So Big Blue Box PCast is where we are on Twitter. So that's cleared it up. A bit more divided stuff over the socials since last week's episode, bud. We'll get onto it in our review when we get onto Can You Hear Me? But crikey,
Yeah, I know.
It's nothing. They do like a bit of the Beeb I'm referring to. They do like a wee bit of talking ammunition. This series, I've noticed, like last series, it was kind of, they didn't really dive into too many sort of deep subjects. I know we had the racial thing with Rosa, yeah, and there was a couple of other little bits sprinkled around. But this series, it definitely seems like it's talking about some big issues. This one, so,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so the socials have been rumbling with people hating Doctor Who, people loving Doctor Who. It's it's an interesting time to be. It's very interesting looking at Twitter, especially after a new show's gone out.
Yeah, it's one of the things I love. As soon as the episode finishes, I just love going on my phone to see the reaction. And to the point that I've actually turned to my other half and said, like, I'm going to be on my phone for the next hour. Don't moan, don't, thing. But I just love going on and just seeing what the reaction is. This one, I must admit, the reaction was a lot more divided than I expected. I mean, we'll get to it more in the review, but I was quite shocked at the amount of disagreement over this episode. It's it's a real Marmite one, this. And it's an interesting one because it made me really have to go back and watch it a second time. I thought, what's going on? Like, there was so much discussion over it, really. But yeah, obviously we'll get more to that in the review. But I was just surprised about the amount of, I mean, I shouldn't be. Every episode of Doctor Who at the minute just gets, opinions blasted from both sides, whatever. But this one brought up some really interesting points, I think.
Indeed. Yes. Anyway, you've been up to anything, Doctor Who? Actually, no, I saw some socials from some Insta or some Facebook pics from you, buddy. I think you went to the capital, right? And you ventured into a few places?
I did. I was off yesterday. I had a day off. I don't normally get 2 days together. So I did a bit of filming. I finished my little TARDIS review because the 13th Doctor TARDIS toy turned up, and I thought, right, let's got a day off. Let's make a vid.
Yay!
So I did that, which is all ready to go. In fact, it'll be out by the time this podcast goes out. I know you weren't a fan of it, but I was really pleased when that turned up. I was like, oh, here it is. And then I thought, I'm going to blitz up to London for the afternoon. I just felt like I needed to get out of the house. It's so bright and sunny because we've had this massive storm come over, haven't we, the last few days? And Monday was horrific. It was like it was almost scary to step outside the door. It was so windy, rain, it's just stuff flying everywhere. It looked, like my garden was obliterated on Tuesday morning. It did look like the world was about to end. But yeah, Tuesday was just sunny and crisp and bright, and I thought, right, this is a day to go to London. But it was a bit of an impromptu thing, so I literally went up for the afternoon. I went to see, someone had tweeted a picture of the police box that's by Piccadilly Circus Station because somebody tweeted Clayton Hickman to say it'd gone missing because it was looking a bit worse for wear. And then it suddenly went missing and they were like, oh no, Clayton, the police box has gone. But then they tweeted literally about a week ago that it was back and it was all refurbished and all painted and it got a new lamp. And I thought, right, that's where I always get off to go to FP. I thought I'll go and have a look at the nice new police box, get a million pictures of that. So annoying as well because it's so busy around that. Because it's so like, just trying to get a shot without people in it. I was just like, move out of the way. I was getting so cross. Anyway, I did get a few pics of it. Then I went to FP. Usual story, my friend. It's the Doctor. It's really weird because there's nothing exciting Doctor Who much in there. They got the new TARDIS, which is cool. But when you go into FP, so the big metal door that they sort of push back, obviously to open up the shop, they got like that massive metal door, haven't they?
Yeah.
They sort of push half of it back and then the other half just kind of stays there. They've got a massive Doctor Who poster of Jodie on that door now. So it's like Doctor Who is so prominent. And when I say massive, it's half the size of the giant door.
Oh, cool.
Just a big picture of her, with the flowing sort of coat. It's that picture, white backdrop behind a flowing coat. Looks really cool, really eye-catching. So I thought, yeah, they've got that, Doctor Who. And then you go in, where's your Doctor Who section? And it's kind of shoved in that corner. There's a few bits that have been there for the last 10 years. And, we got the new TARDIS. It's really strange. It's I mean, it's so cool to see Doctor Who at the front of the store, but then it doesn't represent you know, the terrible little corner of stuff but I guess that's not their fault. It's just nothing really out, is there?
What about the cabinet of woe that we've labelled it as?
Well, this is the thing, you see. I don't even know, is that even there? I don't think it's even there anymore.
That's a good thing, though, because that was looking really miserable, wasn't it, for ages?
And the reason I say that is because obviously the Doctor Who section used to be all around that cabinet, but now the Doctor Who section has been moved round the corner, literally shoved in the corner. So I think the cabinet's gone, and I think that's all anime stuff. I think it was. Yeah, so I didn't even notice it. So anyway, quick trip to FP. Didn't buy anything Doctor Who apart from a comic. I just bought a load of blind boxes because they were in sale. Went to the pub, opened my blind boxes. Adam Mamoon, our friend, had seen that I was in London, so he jumped up on the train to have a quick drink with me before I left. And that was that. So that was a cool day. And apart from that, just a couple of other little things that have been happening this week. So I got the new Ace book, you know, the new Doctor Who at Childhood's End. Mm-hmm. First of all, I don't know, something about the cover. It's just a really nice looking book. And she did a signing at FP, which I couldn't make. So I ordered it online signed. So the signed copy was here when it arrived this morning, actually. Which is weird because I was in FP yesterday and had loads of copies of it. I was thinking, I could have just got it off the shelf. But anyway, so yeah, I've got that. It's really lovely, signed by Sophie. And I just can't wait to read it. I'm hearing so much good stuff about it. Like literally, I've just, you know, like my friends that have already read it and stuff have said it's really, really good. So I'm looking forward to reading that. And my Sycorax turned up from Harrop as well. Nice. Yeah. So I've had a couple of really nice little deliveries. He is amazing. So this is the Robert Harrop figurine. Absolutely stunning. I'll bung some pictures up on Facebook. He looks awesome. He's got a big staff though. It's one of those figures that I'm so scared to take him out of the box because I just, especially after poor old Urak, the Tetrap, got dropped and smashed. I'm so scared of handling those Harrop figures because they're so beautiful. So he arrived, and the only other thing really that I've sort of ticked a box was, you know, getting the Talons ticket, which we spoke about last week. We've both managed to get tickets to that, and it was a bit sad yesterday because the tickets went on sale to the general public. So we managed to get them because we know people who are members who very kindly got tickets for us, and they went on sale to the general public yesterday. But it basically there was none left. So the thing went from on sale at 11:30 straight to sold out.
Oh.
So like, you know, all our friends that we normally meet up with, like Tim, you know, Beef and Ad and Morgan and all, you know, all those guys were all in the chat, and they're like, oh no, it's like, I think Morgan got one, but you know, it was like, it's completely sold out already. And so those, they are becoming really hard to get tickets for, those events. I mean, they are brilliant. I've said it before, they're my favorite events that we go to, but to be sold out before they even go on sale to the general public, it's like, whoa.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's crazy. Yep. And the thing that really worries me is that apparently when they went on sale to the members, dead on 11:30, there was hardly any left. And I'm thinking, how can that be? So if dead on 11:30 when they went on sale to the members 2 weeks ago, there was literally only a handful left. So where have they, like, how have they sold? I don't understand. Are they, because I assumed when I was told that, well, that would be the ones they've held back for like BBC people and probably the ones going on sale to the general public, but that's clearly not the case. So is that all BBC people, or is it can't be people with lightning fingers, because there's just no way, not dead on 11:30 when they went on sale. It can't just all have sold, surely. I don't know. Yeah, it worries me though, because I'm just sort of thinking it's becoming, I hate missing those events. I'm going to have to miss the Faceless Ones, but because I can't get the time off work. But the thought of not being able to get tickets to BFI events really, really distresses me, because I just love them so much, you know.
Yeah, that's a strange one. I've always wondered how they run their ticket allocation system there.
Yeah,
it's always a tricky one, because I always thought that they had sort of X amount of tickets for members, and then they had X amount for non-members. So
that's what I assumed. Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't think that the entire cinema would be booked up with members. I thought they held some back for non-members in 2 weeks, but that might not be the case. It might just be that they open it all up to non-members, and if there are any left, then they'll go on sale to the general public. I'm really not sure, but it's gutting though, isn't it, for people that couldn't get a ticket. So,
well, I really do feel for anyone that wants a ticket to that, because I remember being in that situation with the last one with Fenric, where I was there dead on 11:30 when they went on Search of the Republic, and there was like about 3 seats. I clicked on one, went to put it in my basket, and it come up, sorry, that seat's no longer available. And I'm like, because I didn't get in the basket in lightning speed. And then they'd gone, and I was absolutely distraught. I was like, oh, I can't believe I'm going to miss that event. Thankfully, I did manage to get one in the end. But yeah, I don't know. The only way is to become a member, I think. But if that doesn't even guarantee getting one, like, it's just a bit mad, isn't it? Because they can't up the screen. They already show it in the biggest screen they have, so they can't do anything about that. Can't really do 2 showings of the same thing because they have all the Q&A with the actors and all that. It's just too much, and that already finishes at like 4:00 in the afternoon. So it's, I don't know. There's no way around it, really. I'm so glad we're going to be there. I tell you, I'm so. This is one that I really didn't want to miss. Faceless Ones I'm gutted about, but this one, Talons, I really would have been distraught if I hadn't got tickets to this. So I'm really glad we will be there. But man, I feel for those that didn't get tickets. I really do. Because they're all the people that we normally see, who I'm sure will come and have a drink with us afterwards anyway. I think that's the plan. They'll just join us for the after bit, which is always fun anyway.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Oh dear.
Yeah, mad, isn't it?
I need to move to the proper, well, not the proper, they need to move to the IMAX screen down the road.
Well,
got like 100 more seats.
See, I was discussing this with Ad last night. That could that work? Because that would be the next step up, wouldn't it? And yeah, that's what we were saying. But I don't know. I've only been to the IMAX once. I went to a screening of the Sarah Jane Adventures. They did a special screening for the last episode that was made, or the first episode in the last series that was made. I forget now. And they had a couple of the actors there. Really lovely event. It was years ago. And it's the only time I've ever been in the IMAX. And it's a strange one because it's huge, but the screen's right in front of your face. It's really hard to describe. It's got like a massive screen that takes up the size of the whole front wall, but then so all the seats just sort of back up, and I think unless you're about at least halfway up those seats, I just don't know how you can see anything. I don't know. It was a strange one, but I've only been once, so maybe I need to go and have another look at it.
Yeah, you definitely need seats at the back at that one.
That's what I mean. It was a strange one. And also when they did the sort of Q&A with the actors afterwards, because of the way the screen is so close to seats, they were sort of right in front of it and you couldn't really see them. So it's not as good as the BFI, where they have that nice little stage that they can all sit on and everyone can see them no matter where you sat, sort of thing. Yeah. But yes. I did think that might be an alternative. Yeah. Or they move it out of London, which a few people have suggested. Oh no, don't take it away. I would be as a double-edged sword, because I totally get that people who don't live near London would love to go to these events without having to travel miles. But yeah, I do love it being at the South Bank. I think it's such a nice venue for it.
It's cool, actually. It's good, especially in the summer. It's a nice walk down there.
Oh,
a few drinks.
Lovely.
Yeah.
I can't wait for that event. I'm so excited. It's pulling me through, actually, because I've got a week off next week. I won't be able to do the podcast next week, listeners, because I've got 5 days off and I'm going away, so I won't be here next week. But then I've got 2 weeks of hell. My shifts are horrific the next 2 weeks after that. And the only thing getting me through is the thought of Talons. Is like, I think, 2 weeks of really long shifts and early starts, but then Talons is in the middle of that month. So, yeah, things like that. You know what I mean?
That'll keep you going.
It keeps you going. Yeah, it makes you think. It's what work's all about, isn't it? I'm working towards Talons. Yeah, can't wait, actually.
Indeedy. Yes.
Yeah. So that's been me, my friend. That's been me. What about yourself?
Cool. Yeah. As usual, I've been very quiet in comparison to you, buddy. I've the only thing a couple of things I've done is I've finished up the season 26 box set story. So I've watched The Curse of Fenric and Survival from that box set.
I have a feeling that may have sold out on Amazon. I looked at it yesterday and it was something like 78 quid. I thought that's a weird price. And I realized it was a third party seller. And I thought, is that one gone now? Because we were talking the other week, weren't we, about how they keep disappearing very quickly.
Yes, it's still showing as 2 left in stock.
Oh, is it? What, from Amazon?
Yeah, but the price is now 50 quid.
Oh, right, okay.
So it's gone up a little bit. But yeah, it's, there's 2 left, apparently.
2 left. Yeah. Well, they didn't have any yesterday. They must have just found 2 at the back, down the back of the sofa.
Yeah. Or the the guy that was trying to leg it out the warehouse with a couple in his backpack.
Yeah.
They've collared him. Yeah.
They've got him.
So other than that, buddy, I've not really done too much. One thing I did notice, it was a quirky little thing. Obviously, I spend a lot of time online, being a web designer and developer and all that a lot, and got Twitter open. I noticed there was a tweet the other day by there's a guy called Luke Spillane.
I know Luke, yeah.
Somebody would have heard of him. He runs some of the marketing and online YouTube-y stuff. And he tweeted out that on the Doctor Who official website, which is doctorwho.tv, they had added in another section called Stories.
Oh.
Which is very impressive because they've added a thumbnail and a dedicated page to every single story of Doctor Who on there.
Wow.
So there's hundreds on there. But one thing I found interesting was when you're on the modern Doctor Who stuff, the title for each thumbnail says series, insert number here. So it says series 2 or 5, whatever. When you get down into Classic Who, it says season. And then insert number there. So I'm very intrigued as to why that's the case.
You really don't like that word either, do you? Season. It's series for you or nothing, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Any new listeners that have not heard me rant about this before, just very quickly, I cannot understand why they call a run of TV shows a season. It just doesn't make sense to the name that's been around for a long time just makes perfect sense because it's a series of episodes. So the word series makes more sense to me personally. So I've never understood why I'm sure it's an American thing.
I think it's an American thing. I associate it with an American, season 23 of, Walking Dead. It just sounds,
It's weird. So it's nothing, it's not a dig for our US listeners or anything like that. It's just, I'm sure I've heard years ago things like season whatever of The X-Files or season this of The Big Bang Theory, whatever. I think it's an Americanism that's made its way over here. But it's just interesting that they've used that for classic Doctor Who, where for donkey's years, even before I started watching Doctor Who, I remember other people, in my circle of friends, calling it, do you remember series whatever of Tom Baker's series and all that stuff. So, and like I said, on the website, it's strange because they've called all of modern Doctor Who series blah and classic season. So
if anything, I would have thought they'd have done that the other way around, if anything, because Doctor Who now does seem to get described as, we're on season 13 or whatever. So I don't know. That is a bit odd.
Luke, what's going on?
We'll have a chat with him at the BFI. He's normally there.
He's normally there, yeah. Let us know. But and also the new Blu-ray box sets are called Season, blah, blah. So it's an interesting one. Yeah, maybe it sells like 10 more copies than if you called it a series. I'm not sure. But
the thing I really didn't like is when they issued like the series, like these box sets of the season 12 of the Tom Baker set in America, they called it Series 1 or Season 1. Which I thought was a really odd thing to do. So his was season 1, because it was like, so they were doing it as if like that's the Fourth Doctor's first season, if you see what I mean.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I thought that's really going to mess with you. I couldn't stand that. If I had like, so when they finally released them all, if you had like William Hartnell season 2, but then you jump forward and it's suddenly like John Pertwee series 2, and it's like, no, I already got series 2. It's like I just didn't like that at all. And I think it was the American issue. Somebody out there will know, but I thought that was a very strange thing to do.
Yep. Yeah. Very, very odd.
Very odd. Who makes these decisions? We don't know.
Who knows? So that's been me, buddy. Not too much.
Cool.
And I've read another chunk of Sophie's new book at Childhood's End. So when that's done, I'll get a review up on the website. But
you enjoying that so far?
Very much so, buddy. Yeah,
I can't wait to start it. I'm going to start it this afternoon, actually.
Very, very good read. Really good. So yeah, let's land it. Do some news.
Alrighty.
Those dudes, those peeps, those guys over at Candy Jar Books. They are asking readers or fans of the Target books to get in touch because they would like to hear your thoughts or memories about Chris Achilleos, who is the subject of a book that's coming out from Candy Jar. When is this out? I think it's out this year, isn't it? I think it's April, something like that. I can't remember exactly. And they did a similar thing with Terrance Dicks. So last year, when Terrance Dicks passed away, they a load of people got in touch with them to let them know about their memories of Terrance and so forth. So now they've done a similar thing for Chris Achilleos. So that the new Target style sort of appreciation book that's out is called Kalak.
Love that, don't you?
Yeah, L-A-K. And it's basically the Doctor Who artwork of Chris Achilleos. So as the name suggests, all of his very iconic covers and artwork that he did for the Target range over the years in one book to celebrate that stuff. And they're asking for readers' thoughts. So they would like readers to share their thoughts and memories of Chris Achilleos, as well as the Target books that featured his artwork. Whether they sat you on a path that ultimately led you to a career or simply gave you a few lazy Sunday afternoon entertainments. We'd love to hear your stories. Do you have images of you with Chris or photos of yourself reading these iconic Target books as a child? We'd love to see them. We want to pay tribute to why these books really matter, how they have touched lives all over the world. And then Shaun Russell, who's the head of publishing, says, last year we put out a free release celebrating the career of Terrance Dicks after his passing. A lot of our contributors said that Terrance and the Target range, which he and Chris defined, got them into reading, got them into science fiction, into writing, and ultimately a career. These books change lives. They changed my life. We want Kalak to celebrate this. So all you need to do is pop your memories or photos or whatever it might be over to Shaun Russell. We'll put a link to his email address in the show notes, or if you head over to the Candy Jar book website, you'll see it on there. And they would like your thoughts to be in. So the final date is the last day of February, so a couple of weeks' time. But that would be good. And then each contributor will have a personally signed paperback copy of the book.
Oh,
which is nice.
That is nice, yeah.
Yes. So I think it's a really good idea from Candy Jar, and they are absolutely right in saying that these Target books meant and still do mean a lot to many different people. As Shaun said, some of the people that grew up reading these Target books ultimately went on to have careers themselves writing science fiction and all that stuff. So, and then the obviously the subject of the book itself, Chris Achilleos' work, is just so good, and it's got, as soon as you see it, it's like your brain doesn't need to process it. Within a nanosecond, you immediately think, yep, that's the Target artwork. So
yeah,
it's really cool, bud. I've got a bunch of Target books. It's one of those things that if I ever go anywhere traveling or whatever, and I find a secondhand bookshop, always go in looking for old Target books. So I might pop that as a memory into Shaun. You going to send anything in?
Yeah, I'm really excited for this book. I just love the look of it, and I really like Chris Achilleos' artwork as well. So yeah, I'm terribly excited for this. I'm tempted to send in a photo because I had a lovely chat with him at LFCC last year. A really nice chat, and he often has this woman with him sat at his stall. I don't know if it's his partner or what, but so I said, we had our little chat, and I bought a piece of artwork which I actually have got on the wall, and he signed it and stuff. And I said, could we get a picture together, Chris? And he's like, no. And she goes, come on, stop being such a moody so-and-so. Go and have a picture. So I thought, I said, you don't have to if you don't, some people don't like having their picture taken, do they? They're not everyone's like me. Like you said, I just can't get enough. I'm just such a poser. But you sort of had to be coaxed into having this picture. Taken, but he wasn't funny about it. He just was a bit like, oh yeah, go on then. So I might send in that one of him looking like being at gunpoint of having this picture. But he's a really nice guy. As I said, we had a lovely chat, and I just love his artwork. I think it's got its own style. It's weird because Doctor Who fans, and myself included in this at times, we pick up on things that are wrong and inaccurate, and we're very critical about stuff now. But a lot of Chris's stuff, you could look at it and do that. He did it himself, because the piece of artwork I bought is the First Doctor picture with the pink TARDIS in the background. I think it's the Daleks or something. I can't remember now. Yeah. And he was saying, I don't like that one. I've never been pleased with that one because of the pink TARDIS and it's all wrong. And I said, yeah, but that's what I like about it. So I like the fact it's the wrong TARDIS and it's pink. And so it's weird, isn't it? The sort of something about the nostalgia of that takes over the fact that things are inaccurate and wrong, whereas we're so critical about things like that if anything's new. It's, I don't know, it's strange, isn't it? It's a nostalgia thing, isn't it? It's like we just love the charm of things like that, I think.
Definitely, dude. Yeah.
And I really do love his artwork. I think it's great.
Yeah. So if you want to get your thoughts and memories in, like I said, email Sean Russell. I'll put a link in the show notes, and that'd be very, very cool. And in the book itself, it says end of spring. So I imagine that's April-ish, end of April, beginning of May time, hopefully.
Yeah, very much looking forward to that. Another one to put on the shelf.
Yes.
Right, moving on to ratings news.
Here we go.
People say, I don't care about ratings. I'm always intrigued. I'm not going to lie. I like to know what the ratings are. So Praxeus got, so they've added on all their bits and bobs. So forget your overnights. They've added on all the bits and bobs that they pulled together to make it a higher figure. And the final figure for Praxeus was 5.22 million viewers, making it the 12th most watched program of the week. So that's not bad. It got an appreciation index of 78 out of 100, I assume, which is reasonable, isn't it?
I think that's I think anything over 80 is good, labelled as good. Anything, close. Yeah. So it's reasonable. Yeah.
It's reasonable,
yes.
And it said so, and it just beat Dancing on Ice once they'd added that on, which got 5.06 million. Because I think of the overnights, Dancing on Ice might have just beaten it, hadn't it? I think.
Yes.
So when they've added all the other stuff on, it's slightly beaten it. The most watched program for that week with 8.27 million viewers was White House Farm. What the hell's that?
I've never heard of it, mate. I
never heard of it.
To be honest, I don't really watch ITV.
Oh, is it ITV? Is it?
Yeah. So.
Oh no. I'm a BBC
though.
Man. Yeah, I know. We can remember the days when Doctor Who would be around there. I'm sorry to say, but it's true. And following on from that, Can You Hear Me? Can you hear me? The overnight viewing figures for that, well, it's another drop, I'm afraid. It's 3.81 million for the overnight for that, making it what was it? Well, it was beaten by Dancing on Ice in the overnights, which got 4.84. So I don't think they're going to beat it again this time. Call the Midwife seems to be the popular one. That was top of the day with 6.39 million viewers. So, yeah, not great. Not a good overnight, that. 3.81. That's a bit low, isn't it? So, yeah. I don't know. I would imagine that'll be 4 point something by the time they add on all the other bits. It was the 49th most watched program of the week, which sounds awful when you say it like that, doesn't it?
49th. When you say it like that,
yeah. Sorry, I'll try. I don't know how else to say it. 49th most watched program of the week. Can't really wrap it up any better than that. So yeah, viewing figures not great, not disastrous. It's still hanging in there, and let's be fair, the other shows around it are kind of on the similar peg with just a few more. So it's not all doom and gloom that it does sound like on a first look, but yeah, they could be better. Let's not beat around the bush.
Well, they could always be better, couldn't they?
They could always be better,
yeah. Again, no cause for concern. I don't think Chibbers is going to be pulled into a crisis meeting at the BBC to ask him what's going on. But yeah, would be nice to have another mill on there. But there we go.
Yeah, 3 just sounds a bit too... yeah, once you start dipping under that 4, it doesn't... I don't know, it just sounds quite low, doesn't it? But it's still... I was going to say healthy. Yeah. It's still beating away, that heartbeat. It's not... Doesn't need resuscitation yet.
No, we're not dialing 999 just yet.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, I think this happens quite regularly with series of Doctor Who. If I remember... a year or so ago, we pulled up a graph that some website had put together, and it had all of the viewing figures for each series. And you do get this trend where you have a really big number of viewers for the first couple of episodes, and then it gradually sort of dips a little bit, and then it just shoots up again for the end of series finale. So it's kind of on trend, I suppose. It's not it's not surprising anyway. When you read out 3.81, I didn't think, oh my God, what's going on? It's kind of expected. So
I think as long as the sort of finished figure, like as long as the sort of consolidated figure is around sort of 4 to 5, then as long as we don't drop under that, I think it's all right, because I think that seems to be a sort of good average viewership in this day and age. I think if we start dropping under 4 once they've added on the other bits, I think then that's something to be a little bit worried about. But as long as we're around 4 or 5 mil by the time they've added on the other stuff, then I think we're all right for now.
yeah, I'll take so. Yeah. That's news. Nothing else exciting really going on to chat about.
No.
Let's get old Grumpy Pants in. See what we got merch-wise.
Look out.
Merch corner. Merch corner. Merch corner.
It's a bit rubbish, but it's pretty. Very pretty.
Well, there you are, young man. What do you think of that now, eh? A Viking helmet.
I know, it's on the telly. It's everywhere.
I don't know whether to be impressed or disgusted. Try work in a shop now. It'd help.
Oh dear. I'm getting sick of this.
You're gonna have to have a word with him.
Yep, I think it's time for that chat. It's the chat of you either buck up or it's back to Scaro, mate.
Back to Scaro.
I can't even begin to tell you what's in store if you head back there, mate. You don't want to go back there.
No.
Actually, we'll have a chat afterwards, and I'll let you know what they do to outlaws like you. Trust me. Yeah. Now you want to talk. Go away. Go away.
Get out of it.
Right. The Faceless Ones is out on 3 different formats at the middle of March. So the Faceless Ones was I think it was the end of last year. They announced that it was going to be the next in a series of animated features that they were putting out to replace the lost stories. And they've been pretty good so far.
Yeah.
The Macra Terror, the what was the other one?
Power of the Daleks.
Yeah, they've all been pretty good so far. And I think the one after this one is Fury from the Deep.
That's right.
One after. Anyways, the Faceless Ones continues the very cool animation, and it's coming out in 3 different formats. You've got the DVD, which will be priced at $14.99. You've got the Blu-ray, the standard Blu-ray, which is $18.99, and then you've got the Steelbook Blu-ray, which is an extra tenner, which will set you back $28.99. So the DVD and the standard Blu-ray have got the same cover, which was announced, I think, a week ago, just under a week ago-ish. And it's got Troughton at the bottom, and then it's got the what's the female character's name? I can't remember her name, but you see her with half of her face is human, the other half is pretty gruesome, as you would expect if you know the story. Yep. But then the Steelbook version is a bit of a change of direction, really. So it centres around the kind of mock travel design. And it's got the TARDIS at the bottom, and it's got a big jumbo jet that's taken off above it, and it's got the planet in the background, and it just says travel on the front it says travel your way, and underneath it says Chameleon Tours, and on the back it says travel our way, which has got a slightly different planet and stuff in the background. So yeah, a bit of a change of direction for the Steelbook.
Yeah, it's nice to finally get some artwork for this, isn't it? Because it's been a sort of blank. I mean, this was announced, like you said, a while ago, and it's just been a sort of a blank screen really for so long, with just the title on it. So it's nice that they finally unveiled the artwork for it. I, for one, quite like it, actually. I particularly like the Steelbook. It is different. It is. I mean, when I first saw it, it just immediately caught my eye. I thought, wow, that's I like it. I think that's going to look really nice in hand. It's very different. Totally not what I expected. I mean, if you look at the standard cover, like you said, with Troughton's face, and I could imagine that being a Steelbook. I think that'd make a lovely Steelbook. But I like it. I'm really looking forward to getting this. I think it's definitely going to get that Steelbook. I think it looks really good. Do you like it? It's one of those, I think, that it's a bit different.
I do quite like it, actually. Yeah, it's kind of cool because it's definitely a talking point. So if anyone picks it up and they haven't heard of this story or seen it, they'd obviously know it's Doctor Who because it's got the TARDIS on the front.
Yeah.
And I imagine it would be in with all the other Doctor Who Blu-rays and steelbooks on the shelf. But it doesn't have the title of the episode anywhere on it or anything. So it's a bit of an intriguing one.
It doesn't actually, no.
They'd be like, what's this all about then? So you'd have to go into the whole Gatwick Airport thing and the chameleons and all that stuff. So, and then that might prompt them to be like, oh, well, stick that on then. We'll see what that's like. But no, it's it's kind of cool cover. So the front is it's got like a blue vibe to it, and on the rear it's a greeny kind of colour.
I like it.
Yeah.
Actually, talking to steelbooks, I mean, I don't know who's done the artwork for that. Do we know? Don't think it says, does it? But
don't think so yet.
Because also out this week was the season 5, series 5, whichever you want to say, Matt Smith steelbook. And did you get that yet?
I did. Yes, it was.
Isn't it stunning?
Very nice. Yeah.
It's one of those that when I saw the artwork, I thought, that looks nice. And then I got the actual thing. I don't know if you were the same. I just thought, this is truly beautiful. Because it's sort of, as you move it around in your hand, it catches the light. And it's wow. I was really, really impressed with the new Series 5 steelbook, because you could probably tell. I just thought it was stunning. Yes. And that's by Sophie Cowdery, isn't it? Hope I'm saying her surname right.
Yes.
Did the artwork on that one. I just thought it was brilliant. And really, really chuffed with that steelbook. So, yeah.
That looks good. So all 3 of these releases are available to pre-order now. And the prices are quite uniform across all the main sites that you would pre-order these things from. So Amazon have got them. The prices I just read out, but then Zoom.co.uk and Zavvi, they've got them for pre-order at the same price as well. So, and they're out on March the 16th, which will be good. Not too long to wait.
March the 16th. That's the day after Talons, isn't it? BFI.
Oh, it is. Yeah. No, 2 days after. Yeah.
2 days after. Yeah. Awesome. That's going to be a good week then.
Indeedy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's it for merch, buddy. Not much else. Yeah.
That's your lot.
Unless you want to talk about those bloody character figures.
No, we've done that. We've covered that.
Good. We can get out of it. Right. Review time.
Yes.
What we got?
Can you hear me? No, I'm not going to shout. Yeah, so this week it's an episode called Can You Hear Me?
Wake up, Doctor. Welcome back. I hope you understand now. I wasn't torturing her with nightmares. I was feeding her what she needed to stay sane. The pain of others. But even gods need a helping hand, Doctor. Thank you. You won't feel a thing when this all burns.
Yes, they will.
Yes. Where now?
All those nightmares. I loved them.
Humans?
Earth. Let's take them all.
Yes.
Oh, come on.
It's buried deep in all our memories, in our identity. Built on the lie of the timeless child.
The timeless child.
Timeless child, got to mention.
We're finally back to some arc mentioning of stuff. There we go. What's your score?
Straight to scores. Scores on the doors.
Can you hear me? It was broadcast on the 9th of February this year. Obviously, it was written by Charlene James and Chris Chibnall.
Oh, he's in there.
He's been a busy man this series, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's been hovering over their shoulders.
Yes, it was directed by Emma Sullivan, stars the usual fam that's been throughout all of Series 11 and Series 12 so far, and a fairly decently sized supporting cast, and the official synopsis is thus. What connects the nightmares of a young girl from 1380 Aleppo to strange happenings in the present day? Who is the shadowy figure who appears in the night? And what have they got to do with a young woman in the far future, trapped in an impossible prison? Time catches up to the Doctor's friends who wants and dreams are set on colliding. They must now embark on a mission that will draw out their innermost fears to be confronted.
Sounds exciting.
It sounds exciting, doesn't it? Yeah. So off the bat, dude, what you got?
Well, this is a strange one, isn't it?
I love that.
Yeah. I was in quite a good mood on Sunday. I'd been out. I'd had a lovely lunch with my parents, and I was back in time to watch Doctor Who. And I was really up for this. I thought, what a great day. Get Doctor Who on. And I thought it started really good. I was, with this guy appearing, this mysterious figure in the TARDIS. I was quite drawn in to the sort of first 5 to 10 minutes. I thought, oh, this is good, creepy stuff. I'm liking this. What's going on with the fingers? Oh, wow. And weirdly, I'm just going to mention this so I don't forget. I'm obviously completely wrong, but I could have swore when he first appeared in the TARDIS, I thought I heard the Doctor Who, like the dun, 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 and then he disappeared. I thought, he's going to be the Black Guardian or something. But I could be completely wrong. Maybe I just heard a piece of music that I thought was the Doctor Who thing. But so I was quite drawn in to all that stuff to begin with. I was like, oh, where's this going? And then I don't know what happened, because literally about 20 minutes in, I started to get really bored. And I mean really bored. I was like, come on, what's going on in this? Then the animation kicked in, and I quite liked that. And I thought, all right. So I was drawn back into the episode. And I liked the idea about the two gods and all this. And I thought, right, okay, all right. It's been a bit slow, but here we go. It's kicking in now.
Here we go.
And then they landed on Earth. And there was more talking and more flashbacks to Yaz on the road. And I really, really zoned out massively. It completely lost me. And then I come back in, and to the point that I didn't even know how the conclusion was. It seemed to wrap up like in seconds. I was like, what just happened? Hang on a minute. Where have they gone? Hang on. Suddenly the episode's over. We're back to the Doctor talking to Graham. And I found that really uncomfortable. I was like, what is going on in this episode? So to cut a long story short, by the time it finished, I was sat there and I thought, that was dreadful. That was, I couldn't follow it. I was thoroughly bored throughout it. Jodie, I thought, gave a really run-of-the-mill, just, play by numbers performance. Honestly, I was almost angry by the end of it. I thought, well, that was just so disappointing, because I don't know what I expected from that episode, but it wasn't that. And the worst thing was that I was just totally bored. So I wasn't very impressed at all. So I jumped online to see what people were saying about it. And I was seeing people saying things like, that is the best episode since the show came back. Wow. And stuff. And I was like, what? I was like, what have I missed? And then I started seeing things like, the bit where she handed over the 50p. I was in bits. I was in tears. And I thought, I don't know what they're talking about. I don't remember a bit with 50p. And I was thinking, and I don't even know how the villain was defeated. So I thought, right, something has gone wrong here. I've zoned out so much to the point that I don't even think I watched the story. I don't even think I know what happened in this story. So I'm going to have to go back and rewatch this, because I'll be honest with you, I always watch the episode twice. But with this one, I really didn't enjoy it to the point that I wasn't going to watch it again. I'd made some notes. I thought, that's good enough. When we do the podcast, I'll just go by my notes. I know how I feel about it. But seeing the reaction online, I felt like I was the only one who didn't enjoy it. Apart from the odd few, I was thinking, everyone seems to be loving this. What the hell have I missed? Like, what are people seeing that I didn't see? I thought, clearly I've just been on the sauce, because I just couldn't. I was getting annoyed at myself. I was thinking, why didn't I enjoy that? Everyone's loving it. So I did watch it again. I watched it again Monday night. I thought, I've got to watch it again, because I need to see what I've missed. I still don't particularly like it. I'm going to be honest. I did get a lot more from it. I made myself really watch it. So, because I think that's the thing. The first night when it went out, it just lost me. I was so bored that I just wasn't concentrating on it at all, to the point that I didn't know what was going on. So I did get a lot more from it on a second viewing. And I do think, watching it again, there is some good stuff. I could see why people liked certain parts of this story, but at the end of the day, cutting to the chase, it's just not an episode that I particularly like. I could see what it was doing. I like the fact they were tackling certain issues. All good, but it didn't do anything for me at all. It's definitely not one I'm going to watch again anytime soon. I just found the pace of it just so laborious. So not a fan of this one, I'm afraid. What do you think?
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Okay. Not a fan. Okay, so Doctor Who.
Come on, you loved it, didn't you?
I was going to say, Doctor Who, you know I love you. You know I love you. But, yeah. I think I enjoyed it slightly more than you.
Okay.
But I can absolutely see why you're saying why you said what you said. Especially about zoning out. Because there was one, especially the first time I watched it, there was one point in it where I thought, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And I think it's not, I honestly thought, you know, sometimes when you're really, really tired, I hope listeners can relate to this, otherwise I'm going to sound crazy, but you know, sometimes when you're absolutely knackered tired and you're sat down, whatever, and you start to drift off asleep and you do that slow blink thing.
Oh, I hate that. Yeah.
And then you do that thing where you sort of wake yourself up with a jolt or a snore or something. It almost felt like that had happened as I was watching the series, this episode, where all of a sudden I was like really into it, but I didn't understand what was going on. So I thought, if I just dozed off for like 1 minute, have I just missed an important thing or something? And it's because I just zoned out. I think it was about roughly halfway through. So on the second watch, like you, I thought, right, I'm going to have to sort of concentrate now because I feel like I've missed something. And the same thing happened again. I was like, oh no, I feel like I've missed something. There's a disconnect going on somewhere, because I get the whole thing. Do you know what it was? I think it was more around the character that was from Aleppo with the werewolfy style looking monsters and stuff. When you read it on paper, you can see that. You can see what they were doing there. They wanted to, I think they were just trying to get across the fact that things were happening to people across time as well as location. So I get that. So they were making it happen to this young girl and stuff. And, but for some reason, they made like these really big, scary, werewolfy type monsters. But they don't really do anything, because obviously this time of night and the type of show it is, you're not going to see loads of gore. You're not going to see them shredding people and blood and everything. So when it happens off camera, like towards the beginning, I thought, yeah, this is quite scary. But then there's a bit where the Doctor, you know, when she sent the companions off, and then she's like, okay, she's bored in the TARDIS, basically, what's going on. And then she ends up going to Aleppo. One of those monsters, like, you know, snarls and roars in her face, and she doesn't really get affected by it. And then she chases after it. She's like, what the hell are you, sort of thing. And she chases after it, and you think, oh, you would have thought that she would have crapped herself a little bit more. And so
I've noticed that a couple of times in this series, though. Like, it's almost as if the actors don't know what they're looking at, if you know what I mean, which obviously they don't, because it's probably a man with a ball on a stick. But yeah, I've thought a couple of times now, like the director hasn't, it's as if they've done one take instead of saying, no, we better do another one where you're a bit more scared and we'll pick which one's best for the shot, you know. And I've noticed that a couple of times. It was a bit like when the other week when the girl exploded on the operating table, her best, you know, that girl's best friend. Can't remember any of the characters' names, sorry, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And she didn't really react at all. She sort of went, whoa. I'm like, your best friend's just exploded in front of your face. I think we'd need a bigger reaction. You know what I mean? So I've noticed that a few times. I'm going to put that down to the direction also, really, because yeah, it's just that the reaction's not there to what's on screen. Or the editing, maybe, I don't know.
I'll read you. It's yeah. So that character name was Tahira. She was the young girl
that exploded.
No, she was the girl that the Doctor saves.
Oh, is it?
Tahira's best friend. I don't know her. Maybe Gabrielle. Maybe I'm going to take a.
I thought it was the other way around, isn't it? Wasn't Gabrielle the mouthy gobby YouTuber, and the other one was her friend that exploded? I'm not sure.
Maybe. Yeah, you're probably right, mate.
Yeah.
You know what we're like. But anyway, I just felt like there was a discontent, I'm losing it now. There was a disconnect I felt between some of the story threads. So what did you think to our two main villains, who were the crux of the story, really? And again, I felt they were written in to be very, obviously quite godlike. But it's interesting that we've never heard of these gods before or anything like that. And when there was that scene where the doctor's on, is it Zelin? Yes, the doctor's on Zelin's ship, and she sees him for the first time, and he looks quite menacing. And we've only seen him like pop up in people's bedrooms, and that sounds very weird, but we've seen him pop up in people's bedrooms, and then he's vanished in a cloud of smoke. This is the first time we've seen him sort of explain what he's doing to a degree, and here he is. And I was up for like a big thing. I was like, is this going to be another big reveal? Is this going to be like another Gallifreyan that we may have heard of over the years? And or is this like a renegade Time Lord? Or is it going to be a big reveal or something? And then later on he says, oh yeah, this is me. I go by a few names. I'm immortal, basically. I'm a god. And you think, hold on a minute. We would have heard, because I know they've done this in Doctor Who before. You know, we've had the whole, remember in Pyramids of Mars with Sutekh, you know, he was a
great destroyer. Yeah,
like these big sort of powerful godlike figures. But I think it's more the Doctor's reaction as well, where she's like, oh yeah. She's basically like off the cuff, like, oh yeah. I think I remember you guys, yeah. And then at the end, I mean, fair play. She sort of stands her ground towards the end, you know, when she's got a number on them, and she's like, Zelin's like, how were you alive, or how did you survive? And then she lays the smackdown on them and traps them. So that's all good. But just the fact that they're these big, powerful, immortal gods, they get defeated awfully easily.
Well, the wrap up was so quick that I didn't even know what happened. It was unbelievable quick resolution, way too quick.
It was, yeah. And I thought they were going to wreak more carnage as well. You know, towards the end when they land on Earth, and she absorbs some of the energy, I suppose, from people's nightmares or dreams, whatever. And you think they're going to go on a bit of a rampage and start, you know, destroying stuff, but they don't. They just walk down this street for a little while, and then the Doctor sort of zaps them into that little floating prison that stops the two planets from colliding. So, yeah, I just found it weird. Like, I know it's easy to look at some episodes of Classic Who with the old nostalgia goggles on and all that stuff, but if you think back to something like Pyramids of Mars with Sutekh, he was extremely difficult to defeat. The Doctor didn't have it easy at all. So I felt like these guys were very, if they're immortal gods, they've done a really bad job of staying immortal. Well, the Doctor didn't kill them, I suppose, but she's locked them away. But I don't know, mate.
They didn't seem very powerful, did they? I know exactly what you mean. I mean, I thought Ian Gelder was fantastic as Zelin, it'd be really creepy and stuff. And then, you know, you brought in the other god. What was her name? Rakaria? Something like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, as I was thinking, I think, you know, when they were stood in the street and all that energy started flowing for, I thought, oh, here we go. I sort of woke up a bit at that point. I was like, oh, what's happening now? This looks bad. And then, yeah, literally within seconds, they'd been defeated. It was like nothing, supposed to be massive immortal gods, and absolutely nothing happened at all. It just didn't really, they were wasted, I feel. That's the thing. I mean, as I said, Ian Gelder, as Zelin, is so creepy. He was superb as a villain. He got the voice as well, proper creepy, but he just wasted really, both of them. And Rakayo, however you say her name, she didn't really do anything, did she? She come out like the genie out of the bottle, a little bit smug, few quippy lines, but she didn't really do anything. But that's, you know, more down to the script than her performance. Just felt like they, just felt wasted as the monster of the week, for want of a better phrase, you know. Especially Zelin, he could have been brilliant. I wanted him to be someone, you know, as well. I think because the Doctor sort of reacts when he says the name, doesn't she? She was like, oh, you can't be. And you're thinking, oh, who is it? Black Guardian? No, Zelin. Oh. So, yeah, I don't know. It didn't land for me I think is what I'm trying to say. It sounds the same for you. It just fell a bit flat. It's like two great gods, and they just got put back in the bowl.
Yeah. And he groups himself in with some decent company as well. So you would have thought that he would have been a bit more of a handful. So he also mentions the Celestial Toymaker. He mentions the Guardians, the Eternals from Enlightenment. So he mentions these other big, powerful, immortal people from previous Doctor Who. So you thought, he's going to be a handful, but alas. Just like, yeah, you're right, actually. Just putting the genie back in the bottle, it just didn't seem that difficult for the Doctor, really.
No, my ears did prick up when he mentioned the Toymaker. I thought that might be going somewhere. I do like the fact they did that. Nice to get a nice reference in there, but again, didn't really tie in with anything. Yeah. But that was nice. I did like the mention of the Toymaker. Yeah, that was good. So I do like that story.
Yeah, there was some good stuff in the episode. I still really like Yaz's character development,
Yes, so do I.
Doing a good job with that at the moment. I really like her sort of flashbacks as she's drifting into her dreams or nightmares, whatever they are. You see that moment in time where she's about to give up on everything. Not to the point where I think she was suicidal or anything, but she had her bags packed and she was just she had enough, basically, and was ready to bugger off. Yeah. And there was that police officer that talked her out of it, and it was that lovely moment. I know you said you didn't really.
I got it on the second watch. Yeah. I totally got it. Yeah, I thought I did, and I did think it was a nice moment when I actually paid attention. But I genuinely didn't even remember that scene the first time I watched it. I must have really, really. I don't think I fell asleep, but I must have really zoned out because I didn't even remember her giving the 50p the first time I watched it. I didn't know what people were talking about.
Yeah, it was not. I think that was more down to the performance of the police officer. I can't remember the police officer's name, but it was a lovely reaction when Yaz turns up on the doorstep and she's like, "You don't remember me," and
she's like, "Yasmin Khan."
Yeah, she knows completely. That's a lovely little bit. So I really like it. Like Yaz has been really good this series so far. We've mentioned it in the last few. She just seems to have like an extra bit of character development on top of what Ryan and Graham are getting this series.
Yeah, I've really warmed to Yaz's character. I'm the same as you. I'm really liking her, and I feel like Mandip is. I know she wanted more development. I think she spoke about this at something she was at where she appeared at. She said she really wanted more development of her character, which they've done. And I think Yasmin's really sort of decided to grab this part and go, you could tell she's putting the effort in. I think it's a really nice performance of her. And I've as I said, have really grown quite fond of the character. The flip side of that is I'm still loving Graham. I still love Graham. But the flip side is that Tosin, Ryan Sinclair, is having the absolute opposite effect. He seems to be becoming duller by the week. Like when he turned up and he went, "I got chips." I was just like, oh God. I'm not saying I don't like Ryan's character, but I'm saying, if you're going to get rid of one, I don't want Yaz to go. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
I really like Yaz, but I've got a feeling she is going. Just got a feeling.
Yeah, you kind of get that. You kind of get that feeling, don't they, that they're building up because they're emphasizing her character a bit more. Do you get the feeling that they're kind of setting her up for a?
Yeah, I mean,
departure?
I suppose if it's going to have any impact, it's supposed to has to be her, because I'm not disliking Ryan by any means, but out of the two, if I was going to get rid of one, it would be Ryan. Yeah, I would definitely keep Yaz and Graham.
Yeah, Graham's a funny one because he's still great, don't get me wrong. Bradley Walsh is still very good. Graham's a good character. But I felt like he had more meaning in Series 11 than he has in this series so far. I feel like they've lent a little bit more towards the comic reliefy side of things in this series, with the exception of some of the chats that he had with the characters in the last episode.
Yeah, the bus driver guys.
This one, but in the last episode when he was talking to...
Oh, yeah, that was this one, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, in the last one where he was talking to the husband of the astronaut. when there was a huge chat around that. And so, with the exception of those nice little scenes, he has been a bit just quippy, a little bit comic reliefy.
I feel, I can't help but feel, call me the pessimist. I can't help but feel that's because he was slightly stealing the show in series 11. A
little bit, yeah.
And I feel like they're like, oh no, it's Jodie's show. So I feel like he's just had to take a back seat a little bit to let Jodie shine, which is probably right. She should be pushed to the forefront, but that's why I feel that Graham's been pushed a little bit to the sidelines,
right?
Because I think he was just stealing the show, basically.
Yeah, I do feel on the subject of Ryan, I do the scenes that he had with his mate Thibaut, I felt they were quite nice actually, because I think it was episode 3, maybe 2 or 3. There was a scene where Ryan's playing basketball.
Yeah,
basketball or football with his friends, whatever. And you can tell that that's a bit more, bants, bads, lads. Whereas I feel like this one kind of showed the other side of that friend-mate relationship, because very rarely do you find, and I think that's what, we'll come on to this in just a second, but I think that's what they were trying to achieve to a degree on the subject of mental health for this episode, where sometimes it's very, very easy to interact with somebody and not necessarily pick up on there being anything seriously wrong with someone.
Yeah.
And I feel like in this, especially, I'm going to make me sound very old now, but especially in this day and age and the generation that's coming up now, it's all very much, life tends to come across as a bit amazing at times when you don't really know what's going on the other side. And I use something like Instagram as an example. You see a lot of people who live their Instagram life where everything's picture perfect and everything's amazing, but behind closed doors or when the camera's not on, that's often a very different story.
Oh yeah.
So I'm going deep here, I realise that, but I feel like with mates, like when I was growing up, when I was in my early 20s or my late teens, whatever, I didn't have any relationships with any of my mates in high school or college where I could just sit down and talk to them about a problem. I didn't feel like I had that connection. I had that with some of my female friends, but not with my mates, my male friends.
Yeah.
So I feel I can get what they were trying to do with Ryan and Thibaut, where they were trying to get across, like, look, you don't have to put on this facade to this show, like, it's all bants and everyone's mentally strong all the time. There are moments where you've got to be there for your mates and you've got to try and pick up on when things aren't right. And I think that's what they try to do with that. But I actually quite like those scenes. I know you said you weren't too hung up with Ryan at the minute, but I felt like they were okay.
I get you, mate. I appreciated them more on a second watch. That's for sure. Because I think at the first watch, those were the ones where I was zoning out a bit. Because I was like, I wanted to get on with the story, and that's why I think a lot of the mental health issues that they sort of brought into this episode, they kind of went over my head a bit first watch, because I was just wanted, like, the science fiction side of it. So it was only on a second watch really when I appreciated what they were doing in those scenes. And it is I like the fact that they've tackled that issue, as well as giving all the characters a bit of, bringing the characters back down to earth and giving them a bit of character development. So I think that's really good way to do it. I just kind of feel like we should have had this earlier on in the series, rather than, because we're sort of starting to get to know them now and these new friends that we got to meet and stuff. I just feel like, that should have been done sort of, because we're getting near the end of the series now. I just feel like maybe it should have been a bit earlier on, but yeah, I do get it, and I do think it was handled quite well for the most part, but maybe not the end scene, which we'll come to in a bit. I don't know quite how I feel about that with the Doctor and Graham, but we'll come to that in a bit, because I want to ask you something before we go forward. What did you think about Grace suddenly popping up again? It's like, Sharon. Can you pop back and film a scene? Yeah,
Sharon.
They always bring her back. Yeah, and I love it. I like Sharon D. Clarke as Grace. I think she's great. So I was pleased to see her, but it just makes you laugh that they keep giving her these little cameos. It's almost as if they regret getting rid of her, doesn't it? It's like, oh, how can we bring Grace back? But yeah, it's nice to see her again, wasn't it?
It was, mate. Yeah, and
even though she was a bit evil.
Well, yeah, I think that was more about Graham than it was about Grace. Yeah. I think that's playing on his guilt. He's kind of
absolutely
his repressed guilt. It felt like where he still blames himself feels responsible, I guess, for not being able to save her. Like, I think that's a fairly normal reaction. If even though people, many people will tell you there's nothing you could have done and all that stuff, you probably still feels a bit like, well, I still feel guilt. So I think that was more about his internal feelings rather than trying to portray Grace as a meanie pants. But it was great to see her back because it really did hammer home the impact of what he was feeling. It was a real good. And what do you think about him round the table with his mates as well? And
I liked that.
That was proper Graham, wasn't it?
That's proper Graham, and I love the fact because that did make me laugh. It's probably one of the few bits because there's not much humour in this. It's quite a dark episode, isn't it? But yeah, when he'd sort of zoned out and had the flashbacks, and then he'd dealt all the cards on the table, I thought, oh, that was a nice moment. And his mates are like, I think you may have missed out there, mate. I thought that was good. I liked all that stuff. Yeah. He's a very down-to-earth character, Graham. You can totally relate to him, I think. So,
he is, yeah.
Yeah.
And talking to Graham, then let's address the elephant. Well,
yeah, let's do that.
Depending on how you view it, the potential elephant in the room where... Graham sort of decides to... what's the word? Confide in the doctor at the end that, he's had his checkups. Medically, he's been given the all clear, but he still feels like... he's scared, essentially, that his cancer might return or has returned, whatever. And the doctor's very much like quite dismissive, I would say, and not really sure on what to say and so on. Now, before we get into this, Bud, I don't know if you saw this earlier, but the BBC released a statement about that final scene.
Oh, right. No, I haven't seen it. What have the BBC got to say?
Yes, I'll read it. It's quite short. It basically says, when Graham opened up to the doctor about his fear of his cancer returning, her response was never meant to be dismissive. The doctor's friend was scared, and we see her struggling to deal with the severity of the situation. The intention of the scene was to acknowledge how hard it can be to deal with conversations on this subject matter. When faced with these situations, people don't always have the right words to say at the right time, and this can often lead to feelings of guilt. By showing the doctor struggling to find the right words, the intention was to sympathise with all those who may have found themselves in a similar position. So, I think what they're trying to say was that scene wasn't actually about Graham. The scene was actually meant to be how the doctor reacts to that, but she's quite awkward with it because she can't find the right words to say, which I think they're saying is a lot of people have that when somebody comes to them with like a big thing. Yeah. Sometimes they don't always just in a split second know the right thing to say. So she's quite clumsy and awkward and can't really get, the words out. So that's what the BBC are saying. And then the comments underneath that tweet were just completely, there was some people saying, yep, we got that when we saw it. Totally agree. And there was other people that were, Doctor Who's dead to me. Those kind of things were going on. So what did you feel about this scene then, dude?
See, I kind of get that from the statement. I think, all right, I can see where they were going with that then. No, I didn't like it. I'm going to be honest. I didn't like it. I didn't like it on the first watch. I thought that was odd. But then on the second watch, I really didn't like it.
Right.
I just felt, I don't know, I just felt the writing could have been better in that scene. Because like you said, I think what they were trying to do is a good thing. In sense that we've all had that moment when someone tells us something, especially something big like cancer or illness, it's very difficult to know how to react or talk to someone when they give you that news. So I think that's a really good thing that they were trying to portray. I just don't think they got it right. And I think that's really down to the script. Because I think the doctor could have still been socially awkward, and she still could have found that a difficult surgery. But I just don't think the way it was written betrayed that. You know, she's like, I'm going to move over here. I'm going to pretend to think of something. I totally get what they were doing, but for me, it just didn't land. I just felt it come across as really cold, and I can't help but feel it was slightly out of character because, yes, the 13th Doctor, you know, the Doctor is alien. He should be different and not, you know, I totally get all that stuff. But I think Jodie's Doctor is so, for want of a better word, mouthy. She's not one for holding back. She talks constantly. That it just felt strange that she suddenly didn't have the words. And the other thing is that I'd like to say to back up my opinion is that I think back to the scene of the second Doctor with Victoria in Tomb of the Cybermen.
Oh, yeah.
When she's scared and he goes over and he comforts her and starts talking about his childhood. Mm-hmm. Now, you see, yes, different Doctors, different way of dealing with stuff, but I just want to bring this back to how the Doctor is written and the script itself. Think how lovely that moment is with the second Doctor. He's still awkward. He still doesn't really get it all right, but he manages to comfort Victoria, doesn't he? He says, what does he say? He's talking about his childhood, isn't he? Anyway, that scene, beautiful scene to someone. So I think there was a chance to have a really nice moment between the Doctor and Graham there. Yes, she could have found it awkward. Yes, there could have been stumbling dialogue, but it could have been a nice scene that even though she was awkward, she still, in her own way, managed to comfort Graham, and he could have just sort of done, you know, laughed and thought, well, that's the Doctor, and which he kind of did, but I just don't think it was written well enough. You know, it wasn't a nice moment. It was an awkward moment, really awkward.
Yeah.
You know, I just think it was a wasted opportunity. That could have been such a nice moment between the two of them. It still could have been awkward, but it just could have been a bit like the second Doctor and Victoria. It could have been a lovely, lovely moment, that. And I just don't think it was. I found it an awkward, cold moment. It just left me cold.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, dude. I think, it's such a tricky one because you can absolutely see what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
You can see that. That's obvious. But I think the script, the writing the execution just let it down. I think the Doctor came across as too... I mean, it's not like Graham's like, look, Doc, I've got this, you know, problem. I wanted to get a mixed kebab, but they only had chicken. You know, then like the Doctor's like, all right, whatever. But the fact that he's telling her something so important, he's telling her something so personal and so important. You're right. It could have been handled in a way where she was still quite awkward and not found the exact right words to say, but she could have been a lot more warm with it. You're not so, because the BBC said, you know, she wasn't meant to be dismissive, but it's difficult to see her as not being dismissive when you watch that scene. You know, it's quite tricky. So, yeah, like I said at the very beginning of the show, Series 12 has definitely served up some stuff that's quite controversial and very fuels, like, you know, the socials and stuff for chat around and stuff. But me personally, I feel like that scene could have been 100 times better if they'd have tweaked it just a little bit where she's... Yeah. Because it doesn't even feel like she's paying attention at one point, you know? And I know he's doing it in a way as well that I imagine if he went and said to her, look, I need 2 minutes alone, this is like mega important, then fine. But he's coming across like he's got a bit of a smile on his face at times and he's whispering and it's, you know, he doesn't come across like he has to tell her this because it's, excuse the pun, life or death. But it's still, you know, she... could have. I don't think that's Jodie. I think that's just the script, you know, the way it was written.
Yeah, I just feel it was a real wasted opportunity.
It could have been a lovely moment, yeah.
It could have been a nice moment, yeah. It could have been an awkward, sweet, pull at the heartstrings moment. Instead of making me feel, instead of sort of bringing it home about what's happening with Graham in that moment, it just actually in some ways made me think, it was just horrible in a way. Yeah, it didn't have the right effect.
Yeah. To bring the mood up a little bit, though, what did you think to the incredibly cheesy Dallas-style look at at the end where the Doctor's talking about something and the camera sort of focuses in on each companion's face and then they sort of look up past camera or they do something just like those old sort of sitcoms you see like Dallas and the A-Team. You must know what I'm talking about.
Wait, I do. I know what you're talking about, but what scene was that?
At the very end. At the very end, when they're in the TARDIS, and the Doctor's saying something. The Doctor's saying something. She goes off and she says, Mary Shelley, we're going to go.
Oh, yes,
and they go back into the TARDIS, and then the Doctor's saying something, and the camera then sort of goes to each companion in turn, and it sort of. That frames their sort of face and they sort of look out into the distance and it was just like those old 80s sitcoms where
I didn't notice that.
They normally do it in the intro, but they where when the camera's on somebody and then it sort of freezes and then you see their names like starring whatever. It was like that, but at the end of the show. I can't be the only one that picked up on how hilarious that was.
I may have been writing a note or so. I just didn't notice it because obviously the first time I watched this I was gone by this point in the episode. I'd checked out the room. So the second time I was probably just writing a note. I didn't even notice it. Oh, don't tell me I've got to watch it again.
Well, just those final 30 seconds.
Bits.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have a look. Yeah, because I this may surprise you, but I love Dallas, so I know exactly the bit you mean, like the opening title sequence. Yeah, I didn't notice it at all.
It was so funny, dude. The first time I watched it, as the final credits and the music kicked in, I was cracking up. It just felt like it had that really old school 80s sort of production feel to it. Yeah, it's not like In Your Face where the camera doesn't freeze frame, but as the Doctor's talking about where they're going off, I can't remember what she says, but
she's off to about meeting Mary Shelley, isn't she?
Yeah, so this is after that bit, and they're in the final scene of the TARDIS, and Yaz and Ryan have just said about are we sure about traveling with the Doctor because people are getting older but they don't notice. And
I did like that bit.
That little
by the
bit,
way, I did like that little bit. I thought, that's a good point, isn't it? Because you do start to think about that, don't you? You think, they're changing, but the people they go back and meet on Earth aren't. They're stuck in that same. I thought that was a really good little point. So yeah, like that.
Anyways, it's after that bit. And she's about to hit the big handle on the console to travel off. And as she's saying each word, it cuts to each companion. And it's like a little Dallas moment. It's quite funny, but
okay, I will watch that because I didn't see that at all. Again, I must have checked out. I as you can tell, I wasn't a fan of the story, and I probably just wanted to switch it off. So I didn't notice that at all. I'll have to have another look.
Yeah. What did you think to Ryan getting his mate Tibbo to go to focus group or a counselling group, whatever?
Yeah. Again, I did. On the second watch, I did kind of like that storyline. Once I was watching it properly, so I thought that was all good stuff.
Yeah, I really like that part of the story.
I did. I thought there was a good, although I was slagged Ryan off a little bit earlier, there was quite a good sort of matey feel between those two in a way. Yeah. Tibbo, is it?
Tibbo. Yeah.
Tibbo. Yeah.
Yeah. So I felt it was good that, again, picking up on the mental health aspect of things, which was the theme of the show, obviously. It was good that they showed something that can be good about that stuff. So even though someone's going through that stuff, which he clearly was, and Ryan picked up on that, he basically, put his foot down, said, look, I need you to do something. There's going to be no argument about it. And you see him in the talking about it. And then you just see his face, kind of that sense of relief, like 1,000 pounds have been taken off of his shoulder because he's able to talk about what he's feeling. And everyone else is like, yeah, I feel like that too sometimes, and I've had that. And you can just tell, his posture relaxes a little bit and he smiles a bit. And that must be good for people to hear that feel like that. If you've got something that's really weighty and you don't know how to say it or who to say it to, it's a good thing that there are places and people you can go to. So again, going a bit deep, but I thought it was a good way of handling that character.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that they did do that well. Yeah.
Yes. What was I going to say? Segan Akinola sort of stepped up a little bit more with the music this week.
I don't know.
Well, it was certainly there was certainly a lot more music in this one.
Yeah, I've got to be honest. I thought it was a bit drab.
Really?
I'm getting a bit bored of his music. If I'm totally honest,
a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not saying it was bad, because it wasn't. It was fine. But I suppose, I'm just a bit bored of his music. I don't know. It didn't do anything for me, his music this episode. As I said, not bad. But it just didn't do anything for me, to be honest with you.
Okay, I felt it was a bit better this week. I felt like we had a bit more of a thumping theme, a bit more of a build-up, a bit more atmosphere. Oh well, I think you and I. I think...
Sorry, I just did. It's one of the notes I made was that I'm just getting a bit tired of his same old music.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Adam did not have his Weetabix.
Well, this
both
is the thing.
mornings that he watched this one.
This is the thing. This is why I mentioned earlier that I was in a really good mood. Like when this episode come on, I don't want people to think, because I think it is one of those episodes you have to be in the mood for. And I was up for this. I was up for this episode. So it's not that I sort of came into it and was grumpy and like, oh, Doctor Who's on it. I was really up for this story. So, I don't know.
Yeah. Last week as well, at the end of last week's show, I said, didn't I? These next two stories look really good. I'm really looking forward to these next two ones. So hopefully this Sunday's is going to be
I hope so.
A decent one before the finale story. But what do you think to the Doctor's dream about the timeless child then? So like we said, we got that mention in there. We've got a bit more of the overarching sort of thing that's going on this series, but nothing given away too much. I think we saw the timeless child, whoever that was, the little girl.
Yeah.
On Gallifrey, I presume. What do you reckon? And a nice little insert or pointless?
Yeah, no. I like. I mean, it was pointless, but I liked it. So I did the old fisheye lens.
Yeah.
Get it come out of the bag. No, I liked the little moment. Again, it was just nice because it just reminds you that arc's there. As I said, it was pointless because it didn't go anywhere or add anything to the arc, but it was just nice that it was there to sort of, just have that little moment, I think. So I quite like that. I'm still very intrigued by all that timeless child stuff.
Okay. Character-wise then, I think we've spoken about most people.
Yeah.
Tahira, who was the character on Aleppo from a long, long time ago. What do you reckon to her? She was kind of throughout the episode, wasn't she?
She was okay, wasn't she?
I'm pretty sure it's her.
Yeah.
She was okay.
She didn't really leave any lasting impression.
No, I was going to say, unfortunately, probably won't remember her too much in a year's time or whatever. But speaking about the fam, just on Jodie then, you said that this was like the most kind of run-of-the-mill story for her then.
I just, in terms of her acting, I just didn't think it just felt like she's going through the motions a bit this week, because I've started to really warm towards Jodie's Doctor. But I just found there are times, I hate to say this, but there are times when I just find her style of acting a bit cringy. And I'm afraid there was a few moments in this, in particular, when she first gets on the ship and she's like doing a lot of wide-eyed, wow, that means, and she starts doing all the expedition and stuff. And I was just getting a little bit like, I don't know. Sometimes her Doctor just doesn't do it for me. And this was one of those episodes. Again, not particularly anything bad. Just I didn't think it was anything particularly good. She just didn't feel very layered to me this week, I'm afraid. Sorry. Hate to be negative because I have started to like her, but that and the blimmin' Sonic again, it didn't do a lot for me this week, I'm afraid.
Yeah. I still think she was good. I think she is better than last series for sure. But yeah, I kind of agree with you. I think she was nothing memorable really. Nothing. It doesn't necessarily, every scene she's in doesn't have to be memorable, but it's like it's not one of those stories where we'll talk about how great she was from start to finish. She had nice little moments, but nothing crazy.
She's just a bit one level for me this week. That's about the only way I can describe it. Just all on one level.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then we spoke about Zelin, and
he was good. Yeah.
What's her face?
What, Rakaya? Or whatever it is.
Rakaya, yeah.
The other god.
The other god, yeah.
Oh, did you like the animation bit, by the way? Because I mentioned it earlier, but you didn't say. Did you like that bit?
Oh, yeah. That was very... that was kind of cool, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah, they did a whole thing like that in one of the Harry Potter films where Hermione's talking about the... what's it? You know what I'm talking about.
I vaguely remember it, yeah. I've watched all the Potter films, but ages ago, yeah.
I can't remember what it is now.
It reminded me of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah, that kind of thing. It's kind of cool when they do that because it's just it's a nice sort of different storytelling technique. It changes it up a bit.
Didn't they do it in a 10th Doctor story? A little bit, not to this extent, but wasn't there a 10th? No, not 10th Doctor, sorry.
No, you're thinking of...
where the sky all started changing and... Capaldi story, I mean.
You're thinking of Fear Her.
No. Sorry, 12th Doctor. I'm sure there was a story that started with like a landscape and all the sky changing, and I can't think what it was.
I don't know, dude. I think I remember Fear Her
in Series
Land? 2.
Was it Lie of the Land? Did that have a...
know, mate.
Anyway, yeah.
Maybe.
Anyway, I thought this one was quite nice. A bit more memorable. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, she's talking about the Deathly Hallows. In Harry Potter.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
But no, it's cool to change it up. You know, it's kind of cool.
It added something to it. As I said, it did sort of bring me back into the episode for a little bit, for sure.
Yes. And then Thibaut, fairly good character. Played pretty well.
Yeah, I liked him. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else in your notes, bud?
No, I think I think I've got it all off my chest.
You've got it. Okay, I think it's me to go first.
It is.
I think, yeah. So I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10.
A 6, eh? Yeah. Right. I changed my score from the first time I watched it to the second. The first time I watched this, I genuinely scored it 2. I really didn't enjoy it. I know, but I got a bit more out of it. Second time, I'm going to give it actually went up double, so I went 4.5.
4.5, okay.
4.5 on the second one. Yeah, I got a lot more from it the second time I watched it and actually watched it properly. So, yeah, 4.5.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it was another one of those sort of run-of-the-milly type of Praxeus-y type of Kablammy, Orphan 55-y type of middle-of-the-roadish, not too bad, but certainly nothing too memorable or crazy, really.
No.
Yeah. Right, what did our awesome listeners think of this one then? Let's crack on with some audio clips. First up is Sammy Satine from Down Under.
Hey, Gary and Adam, Sammy Satine here. So, can you hear me? Seems Chibnall took notes to up the character development slightly this week. It's a step in the right direction, but it could be improved slightly. As to the episode, well, it wasn't my cup of tea. I won't be watching it again. Nice to see the timeless child this week. I like all the references to the Guardians, the Eternals, and the Toymaker. At least it wasn't another environment-related story. Oh boy, am I sick of those. Anyway, I give it 6 Zellins out of 10. See ya.
6 Zellins. Thank you very much, Sammy. Hopefully the next story on the finale and whatever will pick up a little bit, so we're going to get those review scores a bit higher. But yeah, thank you very much. Next up is Martin Arnold.
Hi everybody. As someone with mental health issues, that was a profound story, and I think it's wonderful and a testament to the show's inclusivity and imagination that they can come up with these sort of stories and handle them so well. It wasn't a perfect story. It resolved a little quickly given the nature of what they were up against, and that's just the nature of the format they've got, the sort of all-long episode. That's just the truth of New Who, unfortunately. But it resolved credibly. The stuff that was needed to defeat the Immortals was there and already established, even though the Sonic was a bit overused. But that's a minor quibble. I've never been a huge opponent of the Sonic. Jodie is proving to be an absolutely stellar Doctor. It's just wonderful. The scene at the end with her and Graham was sublime. This is good television. It's good Doctor Who, and I hope she stays in the role for a good long while. And just to end, as someone with mental health issues, this show has helped me immeasurably through some dark times, and I would like to say thanks very much for putting this stuff out there. It's a real pleasure to listen to and contribute to. So thanks very much, and long live Doctor Who. Cheers.
Long, indeed, Martin. Long live Doctor Who. And it's interesting to hear from somebody like yourself with, as you said, mental health history and so on. So, yeah, I can totally see where you're coming from, Martin. And it's always a pleasure putting on the show every week for everybody. It's yes, you're very welcome. So thank you very much for that, and your thoughts as well on your score. So really glad that you enjoyed that one. And thank you very much. Let's move on to Alex Kingdom.
Hello, Garrett Adam of the Big Blue Box podcast. How you guys doing? Another great story. Negatives out the way first. I didn't really care for the A plot, which was meant to be this whole dreamy dude. I like the half that his fingers ejected from his hands. It was very strange, very creepy. Ugh. But apart from that, I didn't really care for it. I thought it was a bit of what we've seen before with the Dream Lord and what have you. I thought that woman, I don't know her name, I thought she was really bad as the weird witch person. I didn't like the turn in between the story. I didn't care for that. But everything outside of that, the whole character development side of things, was really, really strong. Probably the strongest in the series. So it's kind of a Marmite plot and episode and things what happened. But, I mean, to be honest, I think the biggest and most controversial thing I've seen on Twitter is that scene between Graham and 13, where Graham's like, I'm worried about my cancer coming back, and she just says I'm socially awkward. A lot of people have been reading this as bad writing for 13. I think she knows something that we perhaps don't want to admit. I think she knows that Graham's got his cancer will re-emerge eventually. I think she has an idea. I don't know how she knows it, but hey, she does. So I'll give the episode a 7 out of 10. I thought it was really solid, another solid episode of Who. And Adam, to answer your question, I am 18. So yeah, there you go. You now know. But anyway, guys, I'll catch you next week for the Mary Shelley episode. I don't know its name, but I'll see you guys then. Have a good week, and enjoy.
Thank you very much, Alex, you cheeky chappy. He's 18. Yeah, Adam did ask that last week, but you've kind of grown up with us, Alex. You've been with us since the beginning, so yeah. It's really fun because when we first started the podcast and you were sending in reviews, you were a lot younger and your voice hadn't broken and all that stuff. So yes, okay, well, yeah, okay, thanks for that one, Alex. Let's move on. This is Callum Morrison.
Hello, can you hear me? Hi guys, it's the Hooniverse here, just calling over to make a little bit of an audio review because I missed last week. Praxius was only a 2 out of 6. It was okay, not brilliant, was a bit bored by it. Moving on to this week, Jodie was on fire, and I mean on fire. Like, I'd say that a lot for episodes, but she felt very confident in the role this week, and honestly, I'd love to see more 13 on her own, because Jodie owned it. Jodie owned that episode. The villains were defeated a bit quickly, but I don't mind that because villains are usually defeated quickly in Who. Honestly, it's like a click of the finger, Doctor sorted it, he's off again. Then Graham and Yaz had a brilliant backstory this week. You know, Ryan's nightmare of Grace was painful because, like, it was really emotional. That was done really well. And Yaz, her backstory was really interesting. Ryan's leaving at the end of the season. I'm just going to say that now as a fact. It just feels that way from this episode. But yeah, it was brilliant. I'd give it a 4 out of 6, maybe a 4.7, so higher up at the end. Thanks, guys. Bye.
A 4 out of 6. Interesting rating system you've got there, Callum, but thank you very much. So if it's a 4 out of 6, and that's probably something like an 8 out of 10 or a 7.5 or something. So a pretty reasonable score there. Thank you very much. Moving on, this is Time Lord 0902.
Hello, Garrett Adam. It's Time Lord 0902 with my review of Can You Hear Me? I found this episode to be very poor and very boring. I spent part of my time looking at my phone, and at one point got up and did something I thought I would never do in a Doctor Who episode. Turned off the television and found a better use of my time. I did manage to go back and watch the rest of it. Found it very poorly written, very poorly cast. There were some good ideas, but unfortunately they were not fleshed out properly. And the end, with Bradley Walsh giving that speech and having the Doctor just disregard him, I have no words. I'm very angry, but I will give you my greatest nightmare. My greatest nightmare is that Chibnall and the miscast cosplayer will continue on with the series. I give this a 1 out of 10, and only because of Bradley Walsh. Y'all have a great day.
Oh dear. Oh dear. A 1 out of 10. Crikey. TL0902, not liking that one at all. Thank you very much for sending in your thoughts, though. Appreciate it as always. A couple more to go through. This is George Puddy.
Hello, Garen Adam. So, can you hear me? I was so hyped for this episode. I was really excited for it. And I couldn't be more wrong about an episode, to be honest. It just left me really disappointed and a bit angry, to be honest. There were a couple of creepy scenes, and the guy who you thought was going to be the Black Guardian who wasn't was kind of creepy. But that's all it really has. It really loses a lot of weight when it tries to get us invested in these random characters who we don't know, we don't care about, yet we're supposed to care about them. And Jodie Whittaker was just not very good. I've praised her doctor so much this series, but that scene where she dismisses Graham's cancer is just probably the worst piece of writing that has ever been in Doctor Who. I just did not understand why they would put that in as a potential character-breaking moment, and from someone who suffers from mental health myself, that was so poor to see. And you can't make an episode about mental health, but then just tack every single bit about mental health just on at the end. It really disappointed me, to be honest. It doesn't know what it wants to be. Is it about mental health? Not really. Is it about creepy dreams and this creepy guy? Not really. And it's just rushed. I just didn't like this episode, and like I said, that last scene left me a bit angry, to be honest. So I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10. It's easily the worst episode of this series, and it's one of my least favourite episodes of Modern Who. It just didn't do anything for me, unfortunately, and yeah, was really annoyed at the end of it.
Oh no. George. I totally get what you're saying though, mate. Totally get what you're saying. I think there's an interesting trend that's happening. I think a lot of the, well, this isn't absolute, but a lot of the views that I saw online and from people that have sent in audio clips to our show this week and so on, a lot of people that have suffered with mental health issues themselves or experienced it are not really liking the episode, especially the end scene with the Doctor and Graham, whereas people that haven't experienced that so much, they can kind of see it from both sides. So yeah, it's an interesting one. It's a shame you didn't. Well, it's not a shame that you didn't enjoy it, George. It's a shame that that scene was written the way it was, that made you feel, and others feel that it wasn't quite hitting the mark. So, dear. So not a good one there from George. And George emailed in and said, "I don't know if you remember me, but I used to send in reviews, and of course we remember you, George. Back in the earlier days, of course, we remember you sending audio clips. So it's great that you're back on the audio clip train. It's very nice to have you back. So thank you very much for taking the time to put that in. And the last one this week is Craig Bryce.
Hi guys, hope you're well. So, can you hear me? What did I think? Well, I'm going to tell you what my wife thought first. My wife said this was possibly one of the worst pieces of television she has ever seen, and I agree with that. This episode was awful. Definitely the worst in Jodie's run, and I actually think Jodie was at her worst here. Not all her fault. The lines she was given to say were terrible, and that sonic screwdriver, all of a sudden it can fly now. And that scene at the end with Graham, which should have been a really important scene, was just terribly written. I mean, this is a Doctor who doesn't know how to shut up, and at this point she doesn't know what to say. Awful. The rest of the story was boring. The rest of the cast were okay. I know it touched upon mental health, this story, but I'm sorry, Richard Curtis did a much better job of it with Vincent and the Doctor back in 2010. A couple of nice little things. Ian Gelder was good. The opening shot was good of Syria, and a nice little mention of the toy maker. But sorry, all in all, 3.5 out of 10. Sorry to be so negative, guys. I'll speak to you next week. Bye.
Another low score from Craig. Our listeners are certainly not really liking this episode this week, but do you know what? That's irrelevant. It's whatever you guys feel and whatever you think about it is important. So thank you all for you guys for taking the time to record your thoughts and sending them in. It's very much appreciated. We love hearing what you guys think of the show, good or bad. So thank you very much again. Let's head over to the socials. On Twitter and Facebook, we had quite a few over there. On Twitter, our writer, Jordan Shortman, says, not bad, but not good either. The message about mental health was handled well, and I appreciated that, but the other plot just didn't work for me. The villains were cool, and there was a lot of potential there, but they were defeated too easily. But certainly an original plot. Sam, who is at Dooley011, says, I hated the conversation with the Doctor and Graham. Her response to him being scared about cancer, saying she was socially awkward, was one of the worst moments of Doctor Who history. It probably made him feel worse, and that's just not the Doctor to me at all. 4 out of 10. She has a brief note on the episode in general was that I enjoyed Yaz's final moment. That was great stuff, but I was just bored throughout the entire episode. I wasn't enjoying the story at all. This is coming from someone who has enjoyed most of Series 12. I was just not feeling this one. Joe Bowers at Bowers00 says, a strong episode. I commend the writers for tackling mental health issues, but I hate the end with the Doctor and Graham. I felt it was the wrong message to send. The villains were creepy, but defeated too easily, and I feel instead of his friend, Ryan should have went to his dad. 7 out of 10. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Thank you very much, Joe. Moving on, this is our old buddy Rob Kelly at Rob Kelly Tweets. The Doctor and Graham scene at the end of the episode missed an opportunity to reassure cancer survivors, in brackets, in the audience, to never give up and fight against it. They've been sending lots of fourth wall messages in this series recently. Maybe this should have been one too. Loved the reference to the Guardians and the Toymaker. Hoping that we go up a gear in next week's episode after 2 rather good but somewhat inconsequential stories. As always, love having the series on television every week. Indeedy. Mark Renshaw at Marky Renshaw says, it felt like Monsters Inc. and the theme of mental health was clubbed in with a blunt spoon. Oh dear. Reese at Gallifrey, GF97 YouTuber Gallifrey Forever says, the Zelin was a spine-chilling villain. Amazing presence. Nice mention of the Celestial Toymaker. Powerful nightmare scenes for the fam having a lasting effect. Yaz had better character development in this episode than the last 2 series. One of my favourites this year. TARDIS Elliot says, I totally missed the references to the Toymaker, probably distracted by the references to the Guardians and Eternals. Zombie Who 97 says, I loved how the villains were a metaphor for depression, and I loved the character development, but I feel the idea wasn't executed that well. This was just another time Doctor Who misses out on having a proper creepy episode. Moffat would have handled this better. 6 out of 10. Oh, the Moff would have handled it better. You're probably right. Luke Robinson says, can you believe it? This episode was amazing. Loved the Doctor's performance this season, but in this episode she was great. I love the Eternals, and they are great villains. Voldemort, I can't get his name, but he was great. The Elsa could have done more. It's 8.5 for me. A nice one, Luke. A pretty decent score there. DW Sebling says, rather mediocre for me. Did they really know the term mental health in 1380 Syria? I don't think so. Nice character development, but a little disjointed. Reese at Riftflix028 says, great episode with lots of nice character development. Yaz's story was brilliantly handled, and seeing Ryan scared for his home and Graham fearing for his health worked perfectly as well. The villains were creepy, and I loved the reference to the Guardians and Toymaker. A 9 out of 10. Caitlin Dalek O at Phoebe K. Gardner says, all I can say is I'm really disliking the criticism this episode is getting. For me, I personally enjoyed the episode. I thought the villain up against the Doctor was really good, but was never sure about that ending with her and Graham. Enjoyed it more than Praxius, though. A 7 out of 10. At Davros1736 says, had all the ingredients of a good one, then just seemed to end. Bang, threat gone, drama gone. The mental health issue, while obviously a very important subject, felt a little shoehorned in, but the sentiment has to be applauded. 5 out of 10, but could have been much more. Yeah, I get you. Liv Bartley, a good friend Liv, over at the Who Addicts. Hope you're doing well, Liv. She says, one word, crap. Couldn't follow it at all. Found it very boring and just an overall mess, which is a shame. And I'm getting tired of not having very good villains. It's becoming a habit, like Chibnall hasn't learnt anything from Series 11. And also, can Jodie put that Sonic down? Exclamation mark. Oh dear, Liv. I kind of had a feeling that you'd have that to say, Liv. Yeah. I think a lot of people share that criticism with the Sonic and stuff. So, thank you very much. Who else have we got here? Neil at Brighter Moon says, I was really enjoying the episode up until the Doctor coldly dismissing Graham and his cancer chat. WTF. Genuinely one of the worst moments of Who I've seen. It's a piece of writing so bizarre and completely out of place that it boggles the mind how this made it on screen. A 4 out of 10. Sarah Louise, a running Whovian, always running. This episode held my interest. It had creepy villains and I enjoyed the nods to classic Who. It was good to explore each character's fears and history. I also think the Doctor backing off from Graham merely reflects how many people struggle with what to say in such situations. A 7 out of 10. Yeah, I think you kind of got what the Beeb were trying to do there, Sarah. Like I mentioned in that press release they put out, it was meant to be more about how people handle that situation rather than the situation itself. So, yeah, interesting that you picked up on that. Thank you very much. Let's have a look. Paul Jakes says, watched it again last night. It is that good. As someone who has struggled with chronic recurrent depression, the ending brought a tear to my eye, and it was so spot on. Interesting. Esther Lahang. I think I'm saying that incorrectly. Esther Lahang. I liked it. I loved creepy Elsa and her partner. Their scene in the desert, in the deserted street, was hauntingly beautiful, and I like how, despite how crazy powerful they are, wielding people's fears to mock and control them, how easy the Doctor got them back once Tahira conquered her fear. Thank you very much. Spencer Shively. Prob too late, but really enjoyed this one. No, you're not too late, Spencer. Super creepy and loved all the stuff with the companions. Dr. Graham interaction killed me. Love when he gets super vulnerable. Thought the resolution to the threat was super quick / tad confusing, though. 8 ear fingers out of 10. That's not a bad score. I'm struggling to say this one as well. Dimpfana the Pirate. Dimpner. At Ravenswood 2016. Really enjoyed the episode until the final. Badly written convo with the Graham and the Doc. Now that's all I can think about. And that was it for Twitter. Thank you very much, guys, for tweeting that. Much appreciated. And over on Facebook, Miles Mackenzie. It's a really strong character piece with a creepy villain. I feel that there are a few missed opportunities, though. Investigating the non-existent monster was intriguing but fizzled out real quick. Let's explore the Doctor's need to save everyone without any info of their character. Sometimes people are in prison for a reason. A 7 out of 10. Whilst I did enjoy it... sorry, no, that wasn't Miles Mackenzie. That was Millie Mackenzie. This is Miles Mackenzie. Whilst I did enjoy it, I can't help but feel it's very clunky and doesn't really go anywhere. I highly appreciate the message of mental health and love those aspects of the episode, but the gods were defeated so easily and they barely did anything. And I really didn't like that end scene with Graham and the Doctor. I get that they were trying to be socially awkward. However, this incarnation has given inspirational speeches in the past, and I can't help but feel it's out of character. Overall, I honestly don't know how to feel for that. A 6 out of 10. Same score as me, buddy. Jeff Waddle, part horror movie, part psychedelia, part reminder to look after your mental health. Did well to get all that in one episode. The main problem with having godlike beings on screen is it's almost impossible to show how powerful they are. You can only tell. Sutek was able to decimate worlds. When we saw him, he could barely get out of a chair. Interesting that we have had male/female Eternals now, yin and yang, and we had them in the Battle of Ravi Shankar last season. Is this where we're going with the female-male Doctor thing? Not a masterpiece, but not far off. A 9 out of 10. Jeff's loving this series so far. It's interesting. We've gone from lots of low points with Jeff over the years, but really liking Series 12, which is good. Harry Walker, I don't know what's worse, Killer Bubble Wrap, Killer Birds, or Killer Fingers. I feel like this episode would have been better if it were called The Fingers of Death. Now that sounds very Pertwee, a 6 out of 10. It does sound very Pertwee indeed. Colin Carey, yeah, okay, why didn't they just do 2 or 3 films of Doctor Who instead of filling the series with just 2 episodes? Great podcast as always. Oh dear, Colin, but thank you very much. Charlie Turner, pretty good. Not a favourite, but I like it. 8 out of 10. May give it a rewatch sometime. Jessica Laffelman. I thought it was a good episode, but thought they did away with the villains too quickly. I know they had to make room to deal with companion stories, but it felt rushed. I did love how they handled the companions' fears in the end. 7 out of 10. Lawrence Baxter. Mixed bag for me. Hopefully it'll grow on me with a rewatch. A 6 out of 10. Alan Daisley. Best of the standalones, in my opinion. A creepy nightmare story dealing with human weaknesses and insecurities. The villains were good enough to bounce off the Doctor, which led to Jodie's best Doctor comeback so far, about the strength of humanity. Good to see Yaz's backstory fleshed out a bit more. Matt Searson, really enjoyed it. This for me is the best series since Series 5. Love it. 8 out of 10. Ulrich Hillmeister. I liked it, although I didn't get properly how the Doctor managed to get rid of the two villains. Perhaps it was too quick for a non-native speaker. I liked how they show Jazz's background and prepare Ryan leaving the show. 8.5. Ryan leaving the show? Do you think so? I think, yeah. Like we said right at the beginning, we've kind of called it that someone's going to go. Maybe. I don't know. Ryan, though. Andrew Cuthbert, 8 sonic fingers out of 10. And Danny Brown, very good. 8 out of 10. Thank you so much for all of your thoughts and reviews. It's awesome, as always, to get those in. Next week, the episode before the big finale story. What we got next week, dude?
So next week, the Haunting of Villa Diodati. Is that how you say it? Villa of Diodati. Yeah. So that looks, dare we say it? That looks good and creepy.
Yeah, it does actually look good. Yeah, it's the origin of when Mary Shelley came up with the Frankenstein story.
Indeed,
all that stuff. So yeah, looks pretty good, dude.
I just hope, because there was that brilliant Big Finish audio, the Silver Turk, which is fantastic and has a similar theme. I really hope it doesn't just go all over that, because that's canon. Don't mess with it.
Yeah, like you said, dare we say.
Dare we say. It looks good.
Yeah. I think we'll wrap there, dude, for 255.
Alrighty.
Thank you so much for listening to episode 255 this week. It's been great to have you on board as always. Thank you so much to all of you that sent in your reviews and thoughts. Very much appreciated. Next week it is the Haunting of Villa Diodati, as Adam said, so look out on the socials on Monday to get your thoughts and reviews in for that one. In the meantime, head over to the website www.bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You can listen to all of our shows on there. Plus, you can link off to the various podcast apps and networks, so you can drop a sub if you like what we do here, so you don't miss a show, and it drops every Friday. And if you have a minute or two to leave a review and a rating, that would be lovely. Really awesome, because that helps us out lots with podcast discoverability and all that jazz, so that would be much appreciated. And we're also on the socials as well, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Just do a search of the Big Blue Box Podcast. You'll find us on there. We chat Doctor Who each and every week in between the shows. And speaking of the website, check out all of the cool reviews and articles from our writers over there. Loads of cool Big Finish reviews and deep dives into some of the episodes from Series 12. All good stuff. Also, check out my coasts, my coasters. My coasters YouTube channel, The Geek's Handbag.
Yeah, got a few new vids up. Go and have a look.
Adam is back on the horse.
I'm back.
Loads of really cool videos from Adam over on The Geek's Handbag. If geekery stuff is your thing, which I assume it is. Loads of reviews, unboxings, location videos. Some of those old location videos are still awesome, dude.
Oh, I must admit, it makes me want to go and do some more.
Very, very cool. Yeah. Adam is also on the socials under the same name, The Geek's Handbag. Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Yes. Just do a search for The Geek's Handbag. And yeah, we've got a really, really cool community of listeners and other people and all sorts that chat Doctor Who on the socials. It's really cool, so get involved over there. We will see you next week for episode 256. Until then, take care of yourselves. And remember, Allons-y!